Welcome back to Birds of a Feather with Alan Bondar, aka The Unraveler, and Dustin Curley, who has a no moniker yet. However, Dustin, I'm here to tell you, man, I think I got one for you. I think I got one for you. It's a perfect combination with The Unraveler. You are the closer. Like, and it fits because it's your job too, right? That you own sold to close. Like you are the closer in every area of life. So like, I come in, I do the unraveling, and you shut it down. You're like Mario Rivera, right? From the Yankees, right? Yankees, I think, right? He used to close
Or,
the game.
I'm Kira Sedgwick from The Closer.
Or well, that's a good one. I actually love that show.
Me too.
That's a good show. We just got into that not too long ago. So yeah, it's a really good show. They have some really good twists on it. So there you go. You are Kara Sedgwick. That's
Yeah,
good. Not as pretty, but you'll do.
close.
Anyway, that was fun. But we'll see if that sticks. But that was just my thought. I'm gonna set our timer for 30 minutes. Remind everybody we do respect your time and our time as well. Just so we don't like just ramble on and on and on because Dustin and I could both do that. So 30 minutes, we will end the discussion and pick it up next week. Dustin, last week we ended talking about presuppositionalism and I just kind of made a comment about it, and you were about to speak, and of course, timer ran off, or ran out. So I don't know if you want to pick up there or transition us, but I did a lot of talking last week, I noticed, so I'm just going to shut up and let you go.
Um, yeah, I don't really remember the context. But I am interested in so I had sent you that video by Britt Hartley on atheism
Yep.
and her take on if y'all don't know Britt Hartley, she's friends with Jim Palmer and um staunch atheist, but has some interesting thoughts that I tend to align with when it comes to an atheistic view. And there's a she did a tweet a couple weeks ago, and it just upset a whole bunch of people. It upset Christians, it upset agnostics, and it upset atheists because her take was that there are various levels of an atheistic worldview or a maturity level within atheism. That's probably a better way to put it. That's how she put it. And she called it Atheism 101, Atheism 201, master's level, and then PhD level or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
And basically, the her premise is that when people deconstruct and become an atheist, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. They are unbelievably, everything is black or white. There's religion is terrible. There is no place for religion. It's child abuse. It's harmful. And there's literally just no wiggle room at all. There's no place for religion. It should all be done away with. And she brought up there does tend to be some bitterness involved with people in that stage. The second one is, where you start to entertain the possibility, well, maybe there is, maybe there's some um, little wiggle room. Maybe there's some place for religion in some people's lives, but certainly not most. Then the third level was something to where you begin to consider people's emotional and mental stability or instability and how religion might possibly play a part in stabilizing some people and giving them some form of cohesion or hope or something of that nature. And so, in that sense, religion serves that's purpose. And then the fourth stage was something like um, where you begin to realize that without any form of religion or hereafter consideration, all that you have left is nihilism in a way that can be the polar opposite impact or effect on people. And I listened to her video and I dug it because I tend to agree with her in some ways, and I'll flesh that out in just a second. And I know you did not as much as I did. You said it rubbed you the wrong way a little bit. So I want to talk about that. So I will tell you, I'll just give you my take right now, and I don't know where I would fit in her category, maybe two or three. Maybe I'm either atheism 201 or master's level. I don't know. Um,
Well, can I before you go on,
yeah, yeah.
one more clarification of something she said that I think is important here. I think it was the PhD level version, um, that uh, religion is essential and necessary for some people because they are not built with the desire for truth ultimately. And she wasn't saying that in a derogatory way. Just
Oh,
she was coming across very compassionately on both positions and saying that some people have this built-in need to know the truth and they're willing to sacrifice everything for it, even if it's going to hurt in the end. It doesn't matter, but it's not something you woke up one day and said, you know what, I think I'll be a truth seeker. It's just built in you and you had nothing to do with it. You just so it's a privileged state in some sense in that you can know the truth, and it may negatively affect you. But others are not built that way. They have the need for religion to guide them, for some God to be a comfort to them, because they would not be able to survive with thinking that there was no hope for them after death.
right.
So that was a brief clarification there, just to make sure that that was what she was highlighting. That it's not so much that one side or the other side is right or wrong in what they need. It's just a reality, and so maybe we need to learn to become okay with religion. I think that was kind of where she went with it.
Yeah,
But I'll let you go
I'm
next.
glad you clarified that. Yeah, that's a great clarification. And you're right. What I really like about her is her approach is it is very compassionate. You can tell that she has a genuine concern for human beings, which I have found personally that people who deconstruct begin to lack. Um, I think Christianity cultivates a sociopathy in people. I genuinely do. I think that Christianity breeds this sociopathic mentality where, you can, if you're a Calvinist, for example, you'll say, well, babies burn, and that's just the way it is because God is God, and we're the clay, He's the potter,
Right.
and it seems to be this detachment from reality and from the human race. Well, on the flip side, I have seen a lot of people deconstruct and in that grieving process, because that's what it is. There is an intense grieving process that happens. You grieve the loss of those friends, you grieve the loss of position, you grieve the loss of prestige, you grieve the loss of thinking you had things figured out. There's a lot of grieving that goes on. And in that process of grieving, most people at some point become angry. And a lot of people stay in that place of anger and they don't move past that. And I know a bunch of them. They just cannot seem to get past that. So I like her approach because she's considerate of human beings. She considers human beings on both sides, and just tries to factor that in. So I will tell you, I when I first deconstructed, I definitely was, there's absolutely no place in this world for religion, none whatsoever. It should all be eradicated, wiped off the face of the earth. It's a cancer, it's a blight, and I still ultimately think that. I mean, I do. I think I do not see that religion cultivates critical thinking in any way. I do not think that it cultivates freedom within people. I do not think that it promotes objective truth. Um, and I think it perpetuates this regurgitation of tradition and dogma that's not well thought through. That's my own personal opinion. That being said, I do know people who, man, they're just not like us, Alan. They're not. Truth scares the absolute crap out of them. And when confronted with it, you can see them short circuit. You can literally see something happen within them that is a visceral reaction, and they will run away from it at all costs. They will cut ties with you. They will you're it's a doc you're a demon. You're inhabited by demons, and I mean they go from 0 to 100 like that because you can tell they cannot handle that pursuit. Whereas people like you and I, that's the only thing we can see is that pursuit. I can't see any other way to live but in that pursuit of truth. Even if it is to my detriment for a short while. And this pursuit was because all those existential crises I thought I had figured out, I realized I did not have figured out. And I was going to have to revisit those. And that undid me for a little bit. That was rough. That was hard for me to work through. But I would rather pursue that and feel intellectually and emotionally honest with myself than to not do that. I can't do that. And so, in that sense, I see a purpose for religion because for some of those people, man, without it, I do think they would short circuit. I think some people deconstruct and they become very, very, very depressed because they don't know what to do at that point. And when I was a part of that organization that helped people recover from the trauma of religion, and man, that was an overwhelming experience. A great many of them who were coming out were depressed. They were a lot of suicidal ideology. There was a lot of things they were struggling with because that construct gave them some form of coping mechanism to deal with those things rather than understanding they were just going to have to learn that they had that power to do it within them to overcome those things themselves. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So that's where I am in this gamut of thinking.
All right, so maybe we're not so far off. I I'll be honest, much of what she said made me cringe. But I wanted to digest it for the week because before we talked about it because anytime you hear something that's fresh, you need to let it digest. I'm not sure if I'm cringing any less. I think I'm still struggling with a lot of things he said, but not because her compassion is off. I think her compassion is in the right place, and I think what she's saying is coming from that place of compassion and
Yeah,
from the place that you just talked about, that some people just can't handle it. And if we just take away religion right out the gate, right from them, they're going to fall apart. And in a real sense, there is that fear of nihilism becoming a state that we deal with predominantly in the world, particularly our country. If we just took God out of it, if we were like Men in Black and just and all of a sudden people were like, "What do I do now?" It could be a problem. Here are my concerns with it, with that thought process, though. And I'll use an analogy here, and this may or may not be a great analogy because I just kind of thought of it, but a woman who has breast cancer, um, the doctor might say, "Hey, you have breast cancer. We have to remove your breasts." And the woman says, "Well, yeah, but if you remove my breasts, what will I do? I won't look pretty anymore. I won't feel like." She'll start to have all these anxieties and fears. Would the doctor say, "Yeah, you're right. We should probably just leave your breasts on because I'm afraid you might not know how to survive without them"? He would say, "This is your choice. You're going to die with them or you're going to live without them. It's going to be hard without them, but you're going to live and you'll survive." So, in a real sense, I think that's what we're up against here with this fear of nihilism. I don't think number one, I don't think it would be as bad as we think it will be because I think we'll adapt. But I think that's what we're facing here. Christianity, religion in general, is a cancer. And I think if we continue to say, "Hey, let's just hold on to it because too many people won't know what to do without it," I think that's dangerous because all it's doing is propagating the same old problem that we've had all this time. Now, Um, one of the things I have learned since I've been an atheist through science is the study of evolution, and it has broadened my mind tremendously in how I understand the world and how things have worked, particularly social evolution, not just biological evolution. Um, but um, but what we have done through evolution is both biological and socially, we have adapted to our economy and to our societies and whatever it is that we have needed to adapt to, and that is why we are what we are today. Now, because religion has predominantly been the view of the world, until science has developed and was able to discover some of the things that we know now, it has taken such root in our society and in our culture um, that religion is how we have adapted. And so we've become accustomed to it to such a degree that we don't know what life is like without it. We just think God must be. Um, if we never had religion to begin with, I believe we would adapt it differently. Um,
Yeah,
for,
that's fair.
for example, even when it comes to one of the fears that she talked about, and by the way, we'll post the link to her video as well so that you all can watch it because it was very good, and everybody should watch it for themselves and make their own determinations from it. Um, but one of the things she talked about, and that we've discussed before, and I've discussed with Jen and pretty much everybody who leaves Christianity, is the whole community concept that you lose when you leave your religion. And so the fear is, and she expressed this quite a bit, that if we don't have religion to create that community, it's very difficult, almost impossible, she says, to create that same type of community as atheists, because you can do it as an individual because you're going to put a lot of work into it, but it's not going to be something that is done for you the way religion does it, where it just happens. Um, my concern with that approach is that had we not had religion to create these communities for us, would we have adapted differently as a human species than we did? And perhaps if we remove it altogether and force ourselves to live without some facade of a God and without religion guiding us and telling us how to live by some ancient rule books, maybe we'll over time adapt as well to reconstruct our thinking, and maybe we won't need community as much. Or maybe because we need community, we'll adapt and it will become more fuller than it would have with religion if we got rid of it. So those are
Yeah.
some thoughts that are going on in my mind. I do think that without religion, and I make this quote in my book, as theism dies, humanism will rise. And I'm utterly convinced of that because we won't have a choice. Like as a human species, if we want to survive, that's what you do in evolution. You do that. You adapt and you survive and you make it work. And I think without religion, we'll thrive so much faster because the reins will be pulled off of science, for example, to just be able to go and flourish. It'll be pulled off social evolution. We can actually flourish and we not feel the need to be guided by the laws of an ancient culture. So many things I think would improve and improve fast if we could somehow cut the cord and eliminate religion overnight. I do believe that. I think that would happen. But that's my thoughts. Back to you.
No, I agree, man. And I really like your approach to that. That's why I said a couple of squawks ago that I really wish there was a really well done approach to this topic from an anthropological standpoint, because I think that would help some people. For example, when if you were to take some atheistic cultures that are predominantly atheistic, and there's two primary ones right now, Great Britain being one of them, they thrive. I mean, that culture thrives, and you have a great sense of community, and you have a great sense of connection, and you have all of those things that she has a fear of losing within a culture that is predominantly atheistic. And so I think that is interesting because to your point, a lot of this is conditioning. It's mental conditioning. If I am brought up to think I cannot have community without X, Y, or Z, well, that's what I'm going to think.
Mhm.
And any thought to the opposite of that's going to make me go, well, you can't do that.
Right.
But then when I'm faced with cultures that do it, I have to go, well, how did that happen then? Because I was told it can't happen. And so that's an important consideration. The other thing that I was thinking when I watched her video that no one talks about, man, you and I have talked briefly about it privately, but I think eventually this is going to start coming to the light. Man, consider Christianity and its evolution from, let's say, the the fourth century, third or fourth century, because that's really when it became something under Constantine, really. Look at what it looked like and look at what it looks like now. It's night and day. If you took the mainstream Christianity, because really Presbyterianism, staunch conservative Presbyterianism and Calvinistic, the Reformed, they're the minority now. They're considered splinter views from Christianity almost, right? If you took mainstream Christianity, non-denominational Protestantism today, and you plopped it into the fourth or fifth century, bro, everyone would get branded as a heretic and burned at the stake or stoned to death
Hmm.
because those people would say that's what you're talking is heresy. You need to adhere to this creed and this confession, and this is what's laid out. These are the tenets. No one today even considers those things. And what you have seen is a gradual watering down of Christianity based on the rise of science and the lack of answers Christianity provides. And so it has had to succumb to the culture through every generation.
Right.
And I think 100 years from now, Christianity is going to look almost like mysticism, just basic mysticism.
Well, I mean, just the separation of church and state had a huge impact on this because now we have laws against persecuting and torturing people because they don't believe like you do. Man, back then, bro, if you took any of our religions and beliefs back, there would be fucking wars, bro.
Yeah,
Like it would be horrible. There would be battles and killing and
yeah,
heads being cut off. I mean, it would be terrible the amount of stuff that people would fight for just to hold their ground. And it would actually prove Darwinism that survival of the fittest idea when it comes to religion. Whichever religion comes out on top after all the wars happen, we're the right religion. That's
yep.
what happened. That's what would happen. And now we don't have to worry about that because religion doesn't actually run the world anymore.
It does not.
No.
But what you have are pastors who are making well over six-figure incomes because they have these massive churches that cater to the culture. And they have to acquiesce to the trends of the culture or they will begin to lose their paychecks.
Yes.
And so I genuinely believe based on the trends that I mean it is an insurmountable amount of evidence that we have to prove this theory. Christianity is going to continue on that trend to look nothing like what it does even today. It will look nothing like what it does today in years from now. It's going to be
But it looks
completely
nothing
different.
like it did when I grew up.
Exactly, which is, 30, 40 years.
It has changed as quickly as technology has.
Yep.
It is just
And
incredible.
so and so imagine that, imagine what it's going to look like in another 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be completely different. And that's in Western America. I mean, in other countries, it's they don't even really care. They don't even really consider it. But Western America is consumed with it. And it is going to look vastly different in 30 to 40 years than it does right now. And so I have this feeling that as science begins to have the answers to the questions, especially with the progress in quantum mechanics and quantum sciences, as science continues to do this, Christianity is going to continue to do this. It does not answer the questions, and that is why it has to continue to clamor for some sort of relativity to the culture and the people. It's got to find some way to survive. And I think eventually it's going to just look like a basic form of mysticism, and it won't look anything like it does even today.
The one consistent factor though that I see with religion, uh, especially Christianity, but definitely all religions, even Islam, I see this quite a bit. The one consistent factor is that no two gods are the same in anybody's mind. Uh,
Correct?
you don't. Yes, overall, Christianity, religion in general, has changed and modified, and as you're saying, it's going to morph. But that's because the individual determines what their God is. I, I see it all the time. Like I'll make a post, and I do that. I make posts on my Facebook wall just to piss people off because I want to see interaction. I mean, and people are like, "Oh, I don't understand why you got to be posting this." Because I'm trying to piss you off. That's why I just want to create interaction, and I want to see what you think, and I want to see people dialogue because it brings me great joy when I see Christians come on there auto attack me, and within like 5 or 6 posts, they're attacking each other because they can't agree on what is right and what is wrong. And I'm just like, this is great. And they're doing the job for me. Where it started with Alan's such an evil man, and yet they're all fighting amongst each other. I mean, my most recent one, now I'm seeing a couple of people arguing over evolution. Oh, wait, why don't you believe evolution? I don't understand that. And they're a Christian. So they're debating that. So I mean, you're right. As science develops, each Christian's going to have to roll with it because they're going to say, "Oh, something's wrong here," and they're going to modify their God and they're going to tie it in with, and it's going to grow. And so overall, what religion does is exactly the same thing society without religion does. It's that the individuals all come together with all their ideas, they work together, and they create a system of
Yes.
rule and law that they can all live by in harmony. That's the same freaking thing that happens without religion. So my point is, you don't need religion for that to happen. It would happen without it.
Okay, you're correct. But I think to her point, what she's trying to point out is if we would have started like that, correct, we don't need religion, so let's not even entertain it. The problem is we do have it, and the majority of the people are somehow enmeshed in it.
Yep.
So to be on a mission to just rip that out from under people, that's what she's addressing because it man, it does it can damage people. It can. And that's why I mean, I used to be, I was very vocal on my Facebook page, very vocal. And I said things that were true that I see it, man. I said things that were true, but people could not handle that. They could not handle that truth. Some people would begin to interact with me, and within 4 or 5 interactions, they wanted nothing else to do with me because they had no answers for anything. I have this series I wrote called The Myth of Hell, this 4-part series. I have sent it to, I can't tell you how many people who promised me they would interact with it and tell me how I was wrong, and I've not once gotten a response. Not once. And so I began to lose friends and acquaintances over how vocal I was at one point. And I began to realize I may be doing more damage than I am good because would I rather grab a megaphone and shout truth like a street evangelist, or would I rather have some wisdom and know when it's the right time to have a dialogue with someone and then have that dialogue with them? Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, no, and I agree. I think what we're talking about is timing, environments, etiquette. A Facebook wall is a great place to just blast what you want. People don't have to come on my wall. They can go
Right.
about business. That's their choice if they want to come and get all irritated about it. On one-on-one basis, or in a party when you're hanging out with friends, probably not the best time to try to destroy the mood. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's timing, there's appropriate. My family and I have set a rule with each other that when we're in our context, and I kind of broke it at the last time I told you with my sister because I brought it up, and I think I know better now. I definitely know better, but when we're in family context, just don't bring anything up religious. We don't talk about it, and then everybody's fine. As soon as we do, it's like shit hits the fan. But
Yeah.
on our own walls, in our own worlds out there, we have the right, both of us, respect each other's ability and freedom to share our views. So
Yep.
that's where we are with that. So I agree. That being said, one of the concerns I had with her approach was that um, I think if I understood her correctly, she was making the case that religion, if you're in the PhD level, you need to recognize religion should always remain forever. Um, because there's some people that just can't live without it.
Yeah,
I
I would disagree with that.
I was very concerned with that. So I do agree with you that there may be an appropriate approach in how to eliminate it over the course of time. If there was like a way to sit down and like as a team and strategize and say, okay, if we could do this in the next 10 years, or whatever. I'm not sure it's ever going to work like that. Um, but my other side of it is I don't think we have to fear that because it's not like tomorrow all of a sudden everyone in the world is going to read my book and just suddenly become non-Christians. That's not going to happen. That's not reality.
Yeah.
So one by one, as people fall and come out of Christianity, I think it will ultimately, as theism dies, humanism will rise, and I think that's what's going to happen, and it will just happen naturally. And that being said, there goes the timer and we are out of time. Dustin, you want to close us out?
Yeah, because I want to pick up on something on the next. I want to pick up on this. I have on this idea that you just talked about. I want to pick back up on that, and then we can just see where we go from there. But yeah, everybody, thanks for joining us, man. We really, really appreciate anyone who watches this. Genuinely, we do. We don't expect everybody to agree with us. We don't want everybody to agree with us. But we do appreciate the views and the if you want to interact with it, just post something, as long as it's respectful, just post your thoughts. Even if it's in contradiction to us, we don't mind that. Just post your thoughts. We will interact with you. Like, subscribe, and we will pick this back up on the next one.
See y'all next week.